Ningen. Somewhere in the freezing waters of the Antarctic, crews on Japanese fishing vessels began reporting something strange, something they couldn't quite explain. They said they saw it gliding just beneath the surface, pale, white, and massive, shaped almost like a human, but far too big. It had no visible face, no clear features, just a towering figure moving silently through the water. They called it Ningen, which simply means human in Japanese, but what they saw was anything but human. Descriptions vary, but most agree on a few details. The Ningen is said to be over 60 feet long, with smooth, white, almost skin-like flesh. Some say it has arms and legs, while others describe it as having a tail like a mermaid or fins like a whale. A few claim to have seen fingers, even facial features like a mouth. Maybe eyes, but always blurred. Always half lost in the cold fog and darkness. One crew even claimed they saw it rise briefly out of the water before vanishing into the ice, leaving nothing behind but ripples. What makes the Ningen especially disturbing is how plausible it feels. Unlike sea monsters from mythology, it doesn't breathe fire or have giant horns. It doesn't attack ships or drag sailors into the deep. It just exists quietly and unnaturally, like something that was never meant to be found. Organism 46b. In the frozen heart of Antarctica lies Lake Vostok, a vast body of water sealed beneath 2 miles of solid ice, untouched by sunlight for over 20 million years. Scientists had always suspected it might hold strange forms of life, hidden away in the dark, high-pressure waters where no human had ever swum. But according to one of the most chilling conspiracy theories to come out of the modern age, they didn't just find microbes or fish down there. They found something else, something intelligent and deadly. It was called Organism 46b. The story first surfaced in 2012, supposedly leaked by a Russian scientist who had worked on the Lake Vostok expedition. According to him, once they drilled through the ice and reached the lake, the research team encountered a previously unknown creature, a gigantic shape-shifting cephalopod, similar to a squid, but far larger and more dangerous. Organism 46b was said to be over 30 feet long, with bioluminescent skin, razor-sharp limbs, and a unique ability that made it unlike any species ever recorded. It could paralyze prey from a distance, not with venom or electricity, but with electromagnetic pulses, almost like a cuttlefish with psychic powers. The most disturbing part of the story was how the creature behaved. It didn't just attack, it stalked. It lured one diver away from the group by mimicking human speech underwater. It disguised itself by altering its body shape, slipping into the blackness like it had vanished, only to strike when its prey was completely alone. The whistleblower claimed that it killed at least 2 members of the expedition before it was finally captured, but even then, they couldn't contain it. Before they could get it to the surface, Russian military officials supposedly intervened, shutting down the operation and classifying everything. The kraken. The kraken wasn't just a story sailors told to pass time. It was a monster they truly feared. A creature so massive, it could pull entire ships into the depths without warning. Descriptions of the kraken go back as far as the 12th century in Norse sagas, where it was said to be the size of an island, with tentacles long enough to wrap around a warship and drag it under like a toy. According to legend, it didn't just sink ships, it crushed them, splintering the wood and tossing the crew into the sea to drown or be devoured. And when it wasn't attacking directly, the kraken would stir the ocean with its movements, creating deadly whirlpools that could suck in anything nearby. Sailors said the water would start to churn, birds would scatter, and then, without warning, the entire surface of the sea would rise like a black mountain. Then came the tentacles, slamming down on the deck, sweeping men into the water, curling around the masts, and tearing them down. It was said to sleep in the deepest parts of the ocean, only rising to feed every few centuries, but when it did, it left nothing behind but wreckage and silence. Loch Ness Monster. There's a lake in the Scottish Highlands that's so deep, so dark, and so still, it feels like it was carved out of time itself. That lake is Loch Ness, and what lives beneath it, no one can say for certain. But for nearly 1,500 years, people have claimed to see something massive swimming just beneath the surface. A black hump breaking the water, a long neck stretching into the mist, and a ripple in water that should have been calm. They call it Nessie. But this isn't a cute folktale. The Loch Ness Monster isn't remembered because it's sweet. It's remembered because something down there refuses to go away. The earliest known sighting dates back to the year 565 AD, when an Irish monk wrote about a water beast dragging a man underwater near the River Ness. And since then, hundreds of people, including locals, tourists, and even scientists, have reported seeing a massive serpentine creature moving just below the surface. It was said to be between 20 and 30 feet long, with a thick body, flipper-like limbs, and a neck that rose from the water like a question mark. In 1934, a photograph changed everything. The infamous surgeon's photo showed a creature's long neck and small head poking above the surface, a quiet silhouette in a quiet lake, and it sent shockwaves through the world. The image was printed in newspapers from New York to Tokyo, and overnight, Nessie became the most famous cryptid on Earth. Cthulhu. There are sea monsters you can imagine, like giant squids, ghostly serpents, and pale humanoid things that glide through the dark. But then there's something worse. Something you can't even begin to understand, and that's where Cthulhu lives. Not just in the ocean, but in the folds of reality itself. It was first introduced in 1928 by writer H.P. Lovecraft. But what he created wasn't just a monster, it was a god. An ancient cosmic being that sleeps beneath the Pacific Ocean in a sunken city called Riley, waiting for the stars to align so it can rise again. Cthulhu is described as being over 1,000 feet tall, with leathery wings, a bloated humanoid body, and a face covered in twisting tentacles like a squid's mouth exploded outward. But the real horror isn't in how it looks, it's in what it does to the mind. The legend says that just being near Cthulhu, or even dreaming about it, is enough to drive people insane. Sailors have reported hearing whispers in their sleep, seeing strange symbols on the waves, and feeling an overwhelming dread that pulls them toward a part of the ocean where no charts exist and compasses spin like they're broken. Now, what makes Cthulhu terrifying isn't that it wants to kill you, it's that it doesn't care about you at all. You're nothing. An ant walking across the foot of a sleeping god, totally unaware that one day it might wake up, and when it does, the rules of reality won't matter anymore. There are cults that worship Cthulhu, not because they think it will save them, but because they believe the end of the world is coming and they want to be the first in line to witness it.